Saint Nocturne University. Book 2. Chapter 1. The ride from Court Tower to Howl Ground was not a ride. It was an argument with wheels. They had split into 3 cars because nobody trusted anyone enough to sit together quietly, and because downtown Ashborne had become a maze of dead traffic lights, confused humans, supernatural emergency crews, and streets that kept changing direction whenever Saint Nocturne's red lines pulsed beneath the asphalt. In the first car, Malik drove with Serafina in the passenger seat, Zora and Aya in the back, and enough silence to qualify as a 5th passenger. Malik's knuckles stayed tight around the wheel. His Saint Crowne ring was gone, left behind on a black ritual table in Court Tower. Without it, his hand looked strangely bare. Not weaker. Just undecorated by expectation. Serafina stared out the window, one hand pressed flat to her thigh as if holding herself together by posture alone. Every few minutes, her phone lit with messages from her mother. She ignored all of them. Zora sat behind Malik, soaked from the rain, gold beads clicking softly at the ends of her hair. Her hands still remembered Aya's warmth. That 1 second of contact had not been enough to mean anything and too much to dismiss. Aya sat beside her, red dress gathered carefully over her knees, posture straight despite the chaos. She looked out the window at Ashborne like a woman returning from captivity and judging every building for what it had done while she was gone. Zora wanted to ask everything. Where were you? Who raised you? Did you know about me? Did you hate us? Did you try to come home? Who gave you that ring? What name did they make you use? What did you remember about the night under the chapel? Did you think Nasir was your brother? Did you think I was dead? Did you think of me at all? Instead, the first thing out of her mouth was, "So are you older than me?" Aya turned. For a second, she looked surprised. Then she laughed. It was small. Careful. Real enough to hurt. Yes. Zora nodded like the answer had not punched a hole in her chest. By how much? 4 years. Aya's mouth softened. That bothers you. What bothers me is having to update my entire family tree during a blackout. Malik glanced in the rearview mirror. Zora caught his eye. He looked away quickly. Smart. Aya looked at her hands. The red mark where the thorn crown ring had bitten her finger was still visible. I knew about you, she said. Zora's breath stopped. Serafina turned slightly, then pretended she had not. Zora kept her voice flat. How? Not at first. They told me the Baptiste line was gone, except for Maxine. Then, when I was older, I started finding records. Little pieces. A birth certificate with most of the name blacked out. A ward transfer request. A photo of Auntie Maxine outside the shop holding a baby wrapped in yellow. Zora looked out the window. Rain dragged red light across the glass. You didn't come. No. At least she did not lie. Zora's jaw tightened. Aya's voice lowered. I tried once. Zora turned back. When? I was 17. I got as far as Ashborne Market. I stood across from the shop for almost an hour. Aya's eyes flickered with memory. You came out with Maxine. You were wearing a blue backpack with little suns on it. You were mad because she wouldn't let you buy a strawberry soda before dinner. Zora remembered that backpack. Not the day. The backpack. Her throat tightened anyway. Aya continued, I almost crossed the street. Why didn't you? Aya looked at her then. Because the simple answer was probably cruel. Because there was a blood court watcher on the corner, Aya said. And a council car parked 2 blocks down. And because I had been told my whole life that if I went near you, they would stop watching me and start watching you. Zora hated how much sense that made. She hated that it did not fix anything. Were they good to you? Zora asked. Aya's smile vanished. Serafina's hand tightened on her seat belt. Malik's eyes stayed on the road. Aya said, they taught me how to survive them. That was not an answer. It was. Zora leaned back. Outside, the city shifted from downtown Glass into the South Ward, where the streets widened and old brick apartment buildings sat beside churches, corner stores, gyms, mechanic shops, carry-out spots, and murals half hidden by rain. The redout had weakened here, but not vanished. Every few blocks, a red crack pulsed across the street like a vein. At an intersection, a group of people stood around a stalled bus while 2 women directed traffic with umbrellas and pure authority. A teenage boy in a hoodie held a flashlight over an open hood while an older man yelled instructions that had nothing to do with the engine. A billboard above them advertised the upcoming Ashborne night market. Someone had spray painted across it. Who profits when culture becomes property? Serafina saw it too. Her face did not move. Zora looked at her. You okay? Serafina gave a short laugh. Absolutely not. Good. Serafina turned. Good. I trust people less when they're okay too fast. For a second, Serafina looked like she might smile. Then Malik's phone buzzed through the car speakers. Camille. Nobody spoke. The call rang once. Twice. Malik declined. It rang again. He declined again. A text appeared across the dash screen before he could stop it. Camille, you have no idea what you just freed. Zora leaned forward. Is she always this dramatic? Malik said, no. Sometimes she's worse. Aya looked at the message. Her expression changed. Not fear. Recognition. Serafina noticed. What? Aya's voice was quiet. Camille said that to me once. When? Malik asked. Aya looked back out at the rain. The first time I refused to wear the ring. In the second car, things were less quiet because Kiki Bell was physically incapable of letting silence win. Imani drove, eyes fixed on the road, jaw tight enough to crack bone. Taj sat in the passenger seat because no one trusted him in the back, where he might whisper explanations into softer ears. Kiki sat behind him with Rome and Nia squeezed beside her. Lila rode in the far back next to Dre, who had somehow acquired a backpack full of catering napkins, 2 bottled waters, a flashlight, his notepad, and 3 dinner rolls wrapped in foil. Kiki eyed the back of Taj's head. So, she said. How long were you planning to wait before explaining why a haunted mirror child called you the wolf who sold the gate? Taj looked out the windshield. I don't know what that means. Imani's hands tightened on the wheel. Kiki leaned forward. See, the problem is you say that, but your neck is sweating. It's raining. Inside your collar. Rome whispered, it kind of is. Taj turned slightly. Rome. Rome shrank. Sorry. Nia sat stiffly, arms wrapped around herself. She had insisted on coming after Court Tower despite Lila trying to send her back to campus infirmary. No one argued too hard because Nia had the brittle look of someone who might break only if people treated her like glass. She watched Taj through the gap between the seats. You knew the gate would open, she said. Taj's head snapped toward her. No. But you knew there was a gate. That silence was enough. Imani's voice went low. Taj. He looked at the road. My grandfather told stories. Our grandfather, Imani said. No. Mine. That landed in the car like a bad smell. Kiki sat up. What is that supposed to mean? Taj rubbed a hand over his mouth. For once, he looked less like a schemer and more like a boy cornered by something bigger than his ego. My father's side, he said. East Ward. Before my mom married into the Cross line. Imani cut her eyes toward him. You never claimed East Ward. You think I was supposed to? You know how our family talks about them. Our family talks about them because they ran enforcement for council raids. They also kept wolves from getting evicted out the South Ward when Blood Court started buying property. Dre spoke from the back. Both can be true. Everyone glanced at him. He lifted one shoulder. History usually got dirty hands. Taj exhaled through his nose. My East Ward grandfather used to say Howl Ground had a gate under the stadium. Not literal. Spiritual. Pack authority, territory memory, old wolf law, whatever. The founders used it when Saint Nocturne built the athletics complex over the old meeting ground. Imani's eyes flashed. Why didn't you tell me? Because you act like every secret is sabotage if it comes from me. Kiki leaned forward. Because they usually are. Taj ignored her. A council aide came to me last semester. Said there was a way to strengthen Howl House politically before the election. Said Blood Court and Root Circle had been hoarding institutional power for years, and if wolves wanted a real seat, we needed leverage. Imani laughed once. Cold. So you made a deal. I listened. You always call betrayal listening when you haven't cashed the check yet. Taj turned toward her. You think I wanted to be under Blood Court forever? You think I wanted Howl House dragged out for security every time vampires throw a party? We break fights. We guard doors. We take athletic scholarships with conduct clauses that make us university property when the moon gets full. And everybody claps when we run fast. That silenced the car for half a second. Because underneath the excuses, there was truth. Ugly truth. Kiki's voice softened despite herself. Taj. He swallowed. They said if I helped open the gate during a controlled readout, Howl House could renegotiate old territory rights. Imani stared at him. The car drifted slightly. Lila grabbed the seat. Road. Imani corrected the wheel. Nia whispered, controlled readout. Dre wrote it down. Taj closed his eyes. I didn't know it would be tonight. Imani's voice was almost too quiet. What did you give them? Taj did not answer. Kiki's softness vanished. Taj. He looked out the window. I gave them access to the old pack roll. Imani hit the brakes. The car skidded on the wet street, stopping under a dead traffic light. Horns blared behind them. Kiki's hand flew against the seat. Dre caught his notepad before it hit the floor. Rome yelped. Imani turned to Taj slowly. You gave them names. Taj's voice cracked. Not current locations. Names are locations in old magic. I didn't know. You are a cross, she snapped. You knew enough. A knock hit the driver's side window. Everyone jumped. An old man in a rain poncho stood outside, glaring. You planning to park in the apocalypse, baby, he shouted through the glass. Move the damn car. Imani stared at him. Kiki leaned forward and waved. "Sorry, uncle." The old man pointed down the road. "Howl ground that way if y'all doing wolf foolishness. And tell Marva Cross her niece driving like she mad at the street." Imani blinked. The old man walked away. Kiki whispered, "Ashborne aunties and uncles are government agencies." Imani drove again. Taj sat very still. Nobody spoke until Rome, small in the middle seat, said, "Was my name on the roll?" Taj closed his eyes. Rome's breathing changed. Kiki put an arm around him. Imani said, "When we get there, you tell us everything. Not the cleaned up version. Not the version where you were trying to help. Everything." Taj nodded. Then his phone buzzed back to life. Only his. The screen glowed red. A message appeared. "Howl ground seal active. Access confirmed, Taj Cross." Below it, a second line. "Roll call begins at midnight." Rome whispered, "What does roll call mean?" Taj did not answer. Imani did. "It means we're late." In the third car, Professor Graves sat in the back of Andre's SUV with Maxine, 7, Brielle, and Juno while Andre drove like he had done illegal things in 3 states and learned from 2 of them. 7 gripped the door handle. "Are we supposed to be driving on this side of the road?" Andre swerved around a stalled delivery truck. "Supposed to is such a campus word." Brielle sat in the front passenger seat, staring at her reflection in the rain-streaked window. Juno sat directly behind her and had not spoken since leaving Court Tower. Every few seconds, Brielle's phone lit with notifications. Half were apologies from people who had blamed her. Half were people asking for statements. A few were from brands asking whether she was available for a healing collaboration once things calmed down. She blocked those first. Then she opened the shade room below. The newest post sat at the top. Seal 3, Howl ground. Old pack roll compromised. Some wolves sold names for a seat at a table that doesn't even serve them. The comments had loaded fast. Not the ancestry leak. Taj better start running before the track team gets him. Howl House always yelling loyalty but can't keep a spreadsheet safe. Is Rome on the roll? He a freshman OMG. Who running this page because it knows before the people know? Brielle's stomach turned. She had built the mouth for petty things. Outfits. Cheating. Party clips. Professor shade. Little campus humiliations people claimed to hate and refreshed anyway. Now it sounded like prophecy with a comment section. Juno's voice came from behind her. "You should delete it." Brielle did not turn. "I can't." "You made it. And something took it." Juno leaned forward. "Then say that." "To who?" "Everyone." Brielle laughed without humor. "You want me to post that I lost control of my own gossip page to a living university that uses scandal as fuel?" 7, despite himself, said, "It does have clarity." Maxine shot him a look. He lifted both hands. Bad timing. Professor Graves had been silent since Court Tower. That worried Maxine more than panic would have. Sana Graves in crisis usually became colder, sharper, more precise. Silence meant the crisis had found a place under her armor. Maxine looked at her. "You signed the pact." 7 stiffened. Brielle turned slightly. Juno looked toward the window like the rain had suddenly become fascinating. Professor Graves did not pretend not to hear. "Yes." Maxine's eyes narrowed. "Why?" Andre slowed at a blocked intersection, then took a turn down a side street without asking permission. Professor Graves looked at her hands. "I was 26, she said. Too young to understand that being invited into rooms built by monsters usually means they need your hands clean enough to hold the knife." Maxine's mouth tightened. "The original pact was older than me," Graves continued. "Older than Lucienne. Older than Saint Nocturne as it exists now. The school had already bound the factions through controlled conflict. Rivalries. Scandals. Competitions. Arranged alliances. Pressure valves. Every generation, the institution fed on drama to prevent open war." Seven stared. "That was the maintenance plan." "Yes. That is the dumbest evil system I've ever heard." Maxine looked at him. He lowered his voice. Respectfully. Professor Graves did not react. When the first hybrid experiments failed, the council panicked. They believed a living bridge could stabilize the pact without constant scandal feeding. A child connected to multiple factions. A person turned into infrastructure. Brielle whispered, "Nasir." "And Aya?" Maxine asked. Professor Graves' face tightened. "Aya was never supposed to be part of it. Not at first. The Baptiste line was used for route anchoring. Her presence at the chapel that night was..." Maxine's eyes flashed. "Was what?" "A mistake." Maxine's laugh cracked open. "A mistake. That is what we're calling a child dragged under a table." Professor Graves looked at her then. Pain, old and unadorned, moved across her face. "No. That is what they called her. I signed because I thought I could alter the contract to protect both children." "And did you?" Professor Graves closed her eyes. "No." The car went quiet. Rain hammered the roof. Andre turned onto South Morning Road, the route toward Howl Ground Stadium. Maxine looked out the window. "You should have told me. You would have killed Lucienne." "I should have. You might have died trying." Maxine turned back. "Sanaa, people died anyway." Professor Graves absorbed that without defense. Brielle looked between them, suddenly understanding something about adults. Not that they had answers. That sometimes they had just gotten older around the damage and called the scar wisdom. Her phone buzzed. A private message from an account with no name. "You want your page back? Earn it?" A link appeared. Brielle's thumb hovered over it. Juno said, "Don't click mysterious cursed links during a readout." Brielle looked back at them. "You got paid through one." "Exactly. Growth." Despite herself, Brielle almost smiled. Then she clicked it. The screen went black. White text appeared. Nocturne_system admin access temporarily granted. 7 leaned over from the back. "That seems wildly unsafe." Brielle's eyes moved down the screen. There were drafts. Hundreds. Posts that had not gone live yet. Some petty. Some monstrous. Zora Baptiste's sister was not the only child erased. 7 Monroe's forged prophecy was copied from a dead student. Imani Cross's grandmother broke pack law in 1989. Nia Bellamy's memory is not the only one missing. Dr. Amari's research was funded by Nightingale Trust. Professor Graves signed the original bridge revision. Brielle Laurent's first viral video was not an accident. Brielle stopped breathing. Juno saw her face. "What?" Brielle whispered, "It has drafts on everyone." 7 leaned closer. His eyes landed on the post about his prophecy. He went pale. "Open that," he said. "No." "Brielle." "No," she snapped. "This is how it feeds. We click, we panic, we expose, everyone fractures, seal opens wider." Professor Graves looked at her through the rearview mirror. For the first time, there was approval in her eyes. Brielle hated how badly part of her wanted it. The phone buzzed again. "Publish one to close the gap." Brielle laughed. It came out shaky. "It wants me to choose." Maxine said, "Choose nothing." Seven's voice was tight. "What if one draft helps us? What if it ruins us right before the seal?" Brielle shot back. Andre glanced at her. "Can you delete them?" Brielle tapped fast. The screen flashed red. "Deletion requires confession token." Juno frowned. "What is that?" Professor Graves answered softly. "A secret willingly given." Brielle looked at the drafts again. Her name. Her first viral video. She remembered it, of course. Freshman year, singing in the courtyard after a breakup that had not even been hers. Someone recorded her. People cried. The video spread. Her following exploded overnight. She had always told the story like Fate liked her voice. But Fate did not usually have admin access. Her thumb hovered over the draft. Juno said, "Brielle." She opened it. The text loaded. Brielle Laurent's first viral video was boosted by Saint Nocturne admissions to increase Veilborn applications and donor engagement. Performance contract language waived future vocal sample protections. Attached was a clip. A younger Brielle, nervous and glowing, singing in the courtyard. Behind the camera, a faculty voice said, "Get the first note." Siren response is strongest before she knows she's being watched. Brielle's body went cold. Andre whispered, "Damn." Juno's face twisted with rage. "They used you before you used the page." Brielle stared at the screen until the words blurred. For once, she did not have a joke, a caption, a pose, or a knife. She hit delete. The phone asked. "Confession token required." Brielle opened a new post. Her hands shook. Then steadied. She typed. "I built the shade room below because I liked power that looked like laughter. I told myself petty was harmless if everybody was messy. IT wasn't. I helped teach the school where to put its mouth." She paused. Then added. "But I am not letting it eat anyone else for free." She posted it. The car filled with violet light from her phone. One draft vanished. Then another. Then another. Not all. But enough. Brielle closed her eyes. Outside, the road to Howl ground opened. At Saint Nocturne, the campus did not sleep. The redout had weakened in some districts and worsened in others. The main quad glowed red. The chapel doors stood closed, guarded by faceless statues. The south bathroom mirror had been removed, but its absence left a black stain on the wall that occasionally whispered the wrong person's name. In Magnolia Hall, Talia Price had become an unwilling celebrity. She had returned from Maxine's shop with a baseball bat, a glowing wrist mark, and a refusal to explain herself to anyone who did not bring snacks. Her floor had turned into a crisis lounge. Students sat in the hallway with blankets, charging dead phones from enchanted battery packs that only worked if complimented first. A freshman girl asked Talia, "So are you and Zora friends now?" Talia, sitting against the wall with the bat across her lap, looked up slowly. "No. Oh. We are trauma-adjacent roommates. The girl nodded like that meant something official. Caleb Mercer was in the campus infirmary, where a nurse had declared him bruised, concussed, magically singed, and emotionally overdue. He had tried to apologize to Talia through text. She had replied with a photo of the bat. He had stopped. Dr. Celeste Amari sat alone in her office in the Root Circle faculty wing, staring at the ethics archive login on her computer. The readout had knocked the main system offline, but old council archives were not built on normal networks. They ran on oaths, keys, and hypocrisy. Her research file sat open on the screen. Controlled memory suppression in mass exposure events, ethical limits and consent structures. Her name was on it. So was the funding line. Nightingale Trust/Civic Stability Grant. She had known the funding was dirty. Not how dirty. That was the excuse forming in her head. She hated it. A curse warrant sat on her desk, delivered by the councilman's spouse she had humiliated at the mixer. It glowed faintly, waiting to be activated. She had thought that would be the scandal that ended her career. Now it looked almost quaint. Her phone buzzed. A message from Lila Freeman. If you want to be more than guilty, send me the full ethics archive access path. Amari stared at it. Then another message came. Not for forgiveness. For Nia. Amari's hand hovered over the phone. Outside her office, Root Circle students shouted in the hall, arguing about whether Professor Graves was a traitor, a failed protector, or both. Someone had taped a sign to the faculty lounge door. No more secret pacts from professors who assign reflection essays. Amari almost laughed. Then she sent Lila the access path. A minute later, she sent something else. A list of everyone who had requested her research in the last 5 years. Dean Nightingale was on it. Camille St. Crowne was on it. Councilman Olin Mercer was on it. And at the bottom, listed under restricted clearance, was a name Amari did not recognize. A Baptiste/court designation, Aurelia Crowne. Amari stared. Then whispered, "Oh no." Howl Ground Stadium sat on the edge of the South Ward, older than Saint Nocturne's athletic complex and meaner in its bones. The university had built the official stadium on campus 20 years ago, shiny and donor-friendly, with luxury boxes and a wolf mascot logo stripped of anything that might frighten human sponsors. Howl Ground was different. Before there was a college, before there were athletics scholarships, before werewolves were mascots on hoodies, the packs had gathered here under open sky. Challenges had been fought here. Marriages announced. Funerals held. Children named. Exiles marked. Alliances broken. Disputes settled with blood, teeth, witnesses, and rules no dean had written. The stadium itself was crumbling concrete and rusted railings now, officially condemned, unofficially maintained by people who knew some places did not need permits to remain sacred. Tonight, every entrance gate stood open. Red lights spilled from within. By the time the cars arrived, the parking lot was already full. Not with students only. Wolves. Families. Elders. Alumni. South Ward PAC members. East Ward PAC members. Saint Nocturne Howl House students. Werewolf athletes from rival schools. Parents in raincoats. Grandmothers with silver canes. Little kids standing too close to danger because nobody had been able to find a babysitter during an urban supernatural emergency. And at the front gate stood Marva Cross. Imani's grandmother. She wore a long black coat over a gray tracksuit, white hair braided straight back, gold hoops swinging, one hand resting on a cane topped with a wolf's head. She looked like she had been waiting all night, and possibly since 1989. Imani parked crookedly and got out before the engine stopped. Marva looked at her. Then at Taj. Then at the jacket on Imani's shoulders. Well, Marva said. The clothes finally told the truth. Kiki climbed out behind Imani. Ms. Marva, respectfully, this is not the messiest thing tonight. Marva's eyes moved to her. Keisha, I heard you were dating Vampire Nightlife. Kiki froze. Andre, getting out of his SUV 20 feet away, immediately turned around like he had forgotten something in the car. Marva pointed her cane without looking. Andre Voss, don't run from old women. We invented consequences. Andre stopped. Kiki whispered, I rebuke this. Marva looked back at Taj. Taj could not hold her gaze. That bad? She asked. Imani answered. He gave counsel access to the old pack roll. The parking lot reacted. It moved through the wolves like a physical thing. Growls. Gasps. Mothers pulling children closer. Elders going still. Eastward men exchanging looks. Howl House students staring at Taj like he had become a stranger wearing a familiar face. Marva did not move. That was worse. Taj, she said. His voice came out low. I thought it would help us. Us. Howl House. The packs. Wolves. I thought. You thought you could negotiate with people who call your name a resource. Taj's face tightened. Marva stepped closer. She was shorter than him. She made him look small. The old roll carries birth names, moon names, blood debts, exile marks, child protections, grief lines. You gave strangers a map of our living and our dead. Taj swallowed. Rome stood behind Kiki, pale. Marva's gaze moved to him. Her face softened. Rome Ellis. Rome straightened. Yes, ma'am. Your mama know you out here. He hesitated. Probably. Marva's eyebrow rose. He corrected quickly. No, ma'am. Text her when phones work. Yes, ma'am. Then the stadium roared. Not the crowd. The structure. The open gate slammed shut behind them, trapping everyone in the parking lot and field area. Red fire raced along the old concrete seating. The center field split with a silver line, opening into a circle of dirt beneath the turf. The old pack roll appeared above the field. Names written in moonlight. Thousands of them. Some bright. Some dim. Some crossed out. Some pulsing red. Rome looked up and found his name instantly. Not because he searched. Because it called him. Rome Ellis / First Moon unsealed. He made a small sound. Kiki grabbed his hand. Imani looked at Taj. His name was read. Taj Cross / Gate consent given. A growl moved through the crowd. Taj backed up one step. Marva lifted her cane. Nobody touches him. Several wolves looked at her like she had lost her mind. She slammed the cane into the pavement. The sound cracked over the lot. I said, she repeated, nobody touches him. Imani stared at her grandmother. He gave the roll. And if we tear him apart before we understand who wrote the bargain, the seal feeds on us. Marva looked around at the crowd. That is what this ground does. It loves punishment when truth would be harder. Professor Graves, arriving with Maxine, Zora, Nasir, Seven, Aya, and the others, stopped near the back of the crowd. "The wolf ground seal," Graves said softly. Mabel's voice drifted from the gold beads on Aya's wrist, though the ancestor herself did not appear. "Careful. This one bites pride first." The moon appeared above the stadium. Impossible, because the sky was storm black. But there it was, huge, red, and low, hanging over Howl ground like an eye. The old pack roll shifted. New words appeared beneath the names. "Roll call requires payment. The gate opens for the names sold. One name may be returned. One name must be claimed." Kiki read it aloud and then said, "I hate riddles with attendance policies." Rome started shaking. Imani saw. So did Taj. So did Marva. The red moonlight dropped onto the field, forming a path from Taj to the center circle. Then another path formed from Rome. The crowd understood before anyone explained. Rome whispered, "Why me?" Marva's face went hard with fury. Imani stepped in front of Rome. "No." The stadium growled. The red path brightened around her feet. The old magic did not care about no. At the far side of the field, a man emerged from the shadows. Tall. Broad. Eastward jacket. Silver hair at his temples. A scar cut through one eyebrow. Taj's face changed. "Grandad," he whispered. Imani turned sharply. The man smiled. "Evening, Cross family." Marva's eyes went flat. "Ephraim Vale," she said. Zora glanced at Nasir. Nasir's expression sharpened at the last name, but the man did not look like him. Malik whispered, "Vale." Aya answered under her breath, "Old Eastward." "Not Voss. Not Nightingale. Different trouble." Ephraim Vale walked to the edge of the field like a man entering his own house. Behind him came Councilman Olin Mercer. Kiki threw both hands up. "This man again." Olin smiled faintly. "I do attend civic events." Lila's recorder, somehow alive again, clicked on in her hand. Dre looked at it. "It likes villains." Ephraim's eyes moved over Taj. "You did well." Taj looked sick. "You said it was political leverage." "It is." "You said no one would be hurt." Ephraim shrugged. "Pain is not always injury." Marva snarled. "You always were good at dressing rot in philosophy." Ephraim bowed his head slightly. Marva. "Still guarding children from consequences. Still selling them to feel tall." The wolves murmured. Old history moved between the two elders, thick and ugly. Imani stepped forward. "What does the seal want?" Ephraim looked at her. "Leadership," he said. "No. Not yours, little heir. Real leadership. The kind that makes choices beyond personal loyalty." Taj gave access. "Rome is first moon unsealed. The gate will take either the betrayer who opened it or the young wolf whose name is most vulnerable." Rome's breathing became ragged. Kiki pulled him closer. "Absolutely not." Ephraim smiled. "Or someone with recognized inheritance may claim the gate and bind the roll under a new law." Every eye turned to Imani. Marva said, "No." Ephraim's smile widened. "Afraid she'll choose better than you did." Imani looked at her grandmother. Marva's face told a story Imani had never been given. "Another secret." "Of course." Imani laughed once, bitter. "Right now." Marva's eyes closed briefly. 1989, Imani said. "The draft on the Shade Room. It said you broke pack law." Marva looked at the red moon. Yes. Kiki whispered, I know this is family pain, but can families start sending newsletters? Marva ignored her. In 1989, the council wanted the old roll updated with every wolf child born outside sanctioned pack marriages. They said it was for protections. It was for tracking. Her eyes moved to Ephraim. Eastward cooperated. Ephraim's jaw tightened. Marva continued. I burned part of the roll. Gasps. Ephraim snapped, you erased bloodlines. I hid children. You broke law. I broke a cage. The wolf ground seal pulsed. The names above them flickered. Some crossed out names brightened faintly, as if hearing her. Imani stared at her grandmother. All her life, Marva had preached law, loyalty, restraint, memory. The idea of her burning the pack roll should have felt impossible. Instead, it made terrible sense. You never told us, Imani said. Marva looked at her. I thought if I kept the rest safe, the lie was worth it. Zora, standing beside Aya, let out a small humorless breath. Aya glanced at her. The echo was obvious. Families loved making lies sound like shelter. The red moon lowered. The field split wider. A voice rose from the dirt. Not a child this time. A chorus. Names. Thousands of names. Some whispered. Some shouted. Some growled. Some cried. Rome dropped to his knees, hands over his ears. Taj stared at him. For 1 second, all his ambition, resentment, posturing, and pride fell away. He saw the consequence with a face. Rome's. Taj walked onto the red path. Imani grabbed his arm. What are you doing? He did not look at her. What I should have done before I gave them anything. Taj. He pulled free and faced the field. I sold the gate, he said loudly. The stadium quieted. His voice shook, but it carried. I gave access to the old pack roll because I wanted power. I told myself it was for Howl House, for wolves, for respect, but I wanted to beat Imani. I wanted elders to look at me first. I wanted to matter more than the person the jacket chose. The jacket on Imani's shoulders warmed. Taj looked at Rome. I did not ask who would pay for my seat. The red path around him brightened. Ephraim's face went cold. Careful, boy. Taj turned toward him. You used me. I taught you. No, Taj said. You hated Marva more than you loved your own grandson. That landed harder than any growl. Ephraim's eyes flashed. The field opened beneath Taj's feet. Kiki screamed. Imani lunged, but Marva caught her. Wait, Marva said. He'll fall. He is naming it. Taj's legs sank ankle-deep into red-lit dirt. He clenched his fists. I return my claim, he said. Every name I gave, I take back under witness. Every child, every exile, every hidden line, every first moon unsealed because of me. The roll above them flared. Names blurred, then rewrote. Olin Mercer stepped forward sharply. That is not enough. No, Imani said. Everyone turned. She walked onto the field. Marva whispered, Imani. Imani did not stop. The red moonlight struck her, and the jacket on her shoulders blazed silver. She stood beside Taj, not forgiving him, not protecting him exactly, but refusing to let the seal turn punishment into appetite. I claim the gate, she said. The stadium shook. Ephraim smiled. There she is. Inheritance. Imani looked at him. No, she said. Not inheritance. Witness. The seal faltered. Imani lifted her voice. Howl House does not belong to bloodlines that hide records, elders who burn them, boys who sell them, councils who track them, or universities who use us as guards with scholarships. If I lead anything, it will not be because my grandmother had a cane, my cousin wanted a throne, or old wolves love old rules. Marva's eyes shone. Imani turned to the crowd. Every name on that roll belongs first to the person carrying it. No pack, no council, no school, no elder, no heir owns a wolf's name without consent. The old roll flashed silver. Rome looked up. His name stopped pulsing red. Taj's feet lifted from the dirt, the ground releasing him with a sound like a disappointed throat clearing. Ephraim snarled and shifted halfway before stopping himself. Olin Mercer's face hardened. You children keep mistaking refusal for governance, he said. Lila stepped forward with her recorder. And you keep confessing around microphones. Olin looked at her. The recorder's red light blinked. Dre smiled slightly behind her. The old pack roll spun above the stadium. Names rearranged. New words appeared. Gate law rewritten. Roll claim revoked. Witness accepted, Imani Cross. The wolf ground seal split open with silver light. Not red. Silver. It washed over the stadium, over wolves living and dead, over hidden names and public ones, over Marva's cane, Taj's bowed head, Rome's tear-streaked face, Imani's glowing jacket. The third red line connecting Howl ground to Saint Nocturne snapped. The crowd erupted. Not cheering at first. Howling. Deep, layered, old. It rose into the storm and tore a hole through the red-out clouds. For one impossible second, the real moon shone through above the red one. Then the red moon cracked and vanished. Kiki threw both arms around Rome. Rome cried into her shoulder and did not pretend he wasn't. Taj stood alone until Marva approached. He lowered his head. She looked at him for a long moment. Then slapped him across the back of the head. Hard. Kiki gasped. Ms. Marva. Marva pointed her cane at Taj. That was family. Pack judgment comes later. Taj rubbed his head, eyes wet. Yes, ma'am. Imani stepped off the field. Marva looked at her granddaughter. There were 1,000 things to say. She chose 4. You did better. Imani's face almost broke. Then her phone buzzed. All their phones did. The shade room below posted. Founder seal 3 closed. Howl ground refused the roll. Imani Cross said names are not property and the old wolves had to listen. Taj Cross confessed. Marva Cross confessed. Eastward grandfather embarrassed. Councilman Mercer caught on audio again because some people never learn to shut up near Lila Freeman. 3 seals closed. 1 left. Veil stage opens at dawn. Brielle Laurent, you built the mouth. Now sing it shut. Brielle's phone slipped slightly in her hand. The entire stadium turned toward her. Her throat closed. For once, nobody made a joke. Above Ashborne, the red-out clouds shifted toward the east side of the city, where the old performance district sat beneath a sky turning slowly, impossibly violet. Juno whispered, "Veil stage." Brielle looked at Nia. Nia looked back. Not forgiving. Not accusing. Watching. Brielle swallowed. Then her burner phone, the one she had turned off and buried and cursed under her breath, buzzed inside her purse. She pulled it out with shaking hands. One final draft waited on the screen. Not from Nocturne_system. From an account labeled Aurelia_Crowne. Aya's blood court name. Brielle opened it. The message was short. Do not sing what they ask. Sing what they stole.